exceptional set of 10 goats that we have out in front of us. I thought just quality is very, very good in terms of depth in those classes.
Challenging drive as we get out here, and I think there's a really nice set of 8 sheep in here that I like a lot of pieces about as we get out here and talk about.
Good. The classes have been very good at the top end. I thought lots of bears that I would love to have at home and take home and play with and feed. I think these 4 out here represent
pair of cattle here. The one that's the most youthful and the most fresh. He's the win the class, and that's the darker of the pair of steers we've got out here. I'd like to change him in his height condition.
2025, 2500, 2500, 25, 2500, 2500, 2025. Now
They're all over here.
25 to 3, 3000.
Got Steve here, and Anders, this is all for you, honey.
All right, Anders Eckler. Okay, well, let's just go. 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, 11,000, 12, 15, 20, 25,000, 30,000, 35,000, 40,000, 45,000, 50,000, 55,000, 55,000, 60,000, 65,000, 70,000, 75,000, now 80,000. 75.
Good morning from the 2023 Gillespie County Youth Livestock Show. My name is Blaine Hahn. I'm glad y'all could join us today. We got a lot of action going on out here at the fairgrounds. A lot of the action you're going to see this morning, we're going to start off here right at 8 o'clock. The kids are actually lining up to start showing. We're going to have goats going on live. I believe we have 2 channels going on because we're also going to have chickens and turkeys showing today. After the goat show this morning, at approximately 10 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock, we'll have the lamb show beginning. So you're going to see a lot of action going on this morning, a lot of kids doing their best. A lot of these kids have been working on projects for months and months and months, and so you're going to get to see the payoff of everything. Over the next day, I'll come in and out and sort of explain how things are going. And if you want to come out to the fairgrounds, you can sure come out. We got a pretty big crowd here already this morning. So we're going to get to the live action and see how the kids do. So thanks for joining us.
This will be your first call for Class 2 meat goats. You can go ahead and start getting those Class 2 goats to the holding area. We have relatively small classes today, so if you'll work with us and get the goats up here promptly, we'll get the show running really smooth. Bring them on up, Class 2.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here this morning and get a chance to not only evaluate your goats, but work with your youth here in Gillespie County, county that's rich in livestock and agriculture, and does my heart good to be in places like this and be able to, like I said, not only evaluate the livestock, but work with your youth this morning. As we start off our goat show, a real competitive class, we're going to start off with two that I think worked themselves up to the front, and then some little minor differences kind of separate them. We're going to use the one up to my left. This young lady's goat, just really fresh, really good to the touch and handle, really deep in that loin edge. One that handles uniform as far as finish from front to rear. You get to the front, has some base width. I think the biggest difference between the first and second, I think the first ties better from its shoulder into its upper rack and rib. I think it ties a little bit better from loin to hip, and is a little bit better on its rear too when we really start analyzing it off its hind end when we go to putting them in motion. The one in second probably has a little more width out through its pins, a little more maybe lower leg muscle, if you will. One that also handles fresh down that top, just deviates a little bit behind that blade into that fore rib and rib cage, not quite as good there. Like I said, like to see him handle his hind two just a little bit nicer. A real long-bodied one that handles with some rack, one that doesn't have quite the loin and hip that the two in front of it have. But I think when you look at the quality of this goat, one that moves around and covers its track nicely, I think has a little more muscle than the two that are directly behind it, and that's why it goes in third and consequently in third today. Really a nice one as far as pattern in fourth, one that we just need to pull apart at the ground a little bit, give a little more muscle and a little more spread down that top. And same with the next one, just needs a little more muscle, maybe not quite the touch that the one above it has, especially at the last rib, but two that are very close in quality and in competitiveness. When we get down into the next ones, we get into some goats that just lack the structure and muscle that the ones above them have, maybe not quite the look from the side and the balance that they have, but really a nice first class. These kids have done an awesome job. Let's give them a round of applause for their efforts here.
Dittmer Lumber is a family-owned hardware and feed store located on Highway 87 just south of Fredericksburg. We stock a variety of materials to meet the needs of contractors and homeowners in our community. And for the sake of your time, we even keep our most popular items just inside the front door. Stop by or give us a call today, 830-997-0322. At Dittmer Lumber, if we don't have it, we can get it. Just let us know when you need it.
You have now reached your jewelry destination. Segner's Jewelers has all you desire for Valentine's Day. Beautiful diamonds, dashes of precious colored stones, pendants, earrings, bracelets, and the perfect engagement ring. Let them custom design a special piece or repair your favorite one in the HEB Center on 71 in Bee Cave and 236 West Main in Fredericksburg, or at SegnersJewelers.com. Welcome to Segner's, your jewelry destination. Enjoy your stay.
Checking you as you come in the ring. We may be putting you in lines where we'll wait on what he decides, line 1, 2, or 3. But anyway, y'all go ahead and bring your turkey hens to the arena now, please. Thank you.
While our judges evaluating Class 2, we'll give you the places.
Showmanship number on front of you. The judge will also give you the showmanship test today, so make sure you get that number on the front.
Well, another really nice class. I think these two weathers, even though they have some differences, work their way up to the top based on their qualities. Really good quality goats. Taking nothing away from 3rd through 5th because some nice goats there. We're going to start off with the one that to me is just a little bit wider. Coming at me and going away from me, I think he handles his rear leg and his balance factor a little bit better from the side, especially when we put him in motion. He's a little bit better from hock to ground. He's a little bit wider in his top and in his rib shape, a little bit wider coming at me and bolder in his chest. Maybe doesn't tie quite as well from his shoulder to that forerib. At times, young man gets him just a tad stretched out and he's kind of hard to see, but when you put him in motion, that skeleton comes together and looks really good. Really a nice looking one as far as the way that neck, shoulder, and blade tie together up in that front end. We really appreciate that extra extension this one has in second. One that I like him on the stand when we get him off from him and look from him to the side. Really an attractive weather from the side. Really handles nice as far as his muscle shape and getting wider as he comes back. He gets a little higher in his flank. He gets a little narrower underneath. And when we watch him walk both from the side and away, and especially the 3/4 angle, he gets a little bit short strided in the rear and a little bit in his hock, and we'd like to change that. The one in 3rd, one that's got a tremendous top shape. Really appreciate the expression of muscle, the hardness of muscle, the depth of loin, not quite as wide as the two in front of him. We get this one on the move, another one that hocks in just a little bit. We'd like to widen this one's skeleton out both on the top side and bottom side to compete with the next two, or for the first two, The next two coming in, I like some things about, maybe not total the package, but the one next kind of hard to look at. He gets a little full today and makes him look just a little bit off as far as his side profile look. But when you handle this guy, this one handles with a lot of shape down that top, really widen that loin, tremendous out through that hip. When we get him on the move and when we look at him, he's a little weak in his pastern, gets a little off as far as the way he ties together in his underline. Again, the belly has a little more fill and makes him look just a little bit different from the side, but one we appreciate the handling characteristics and the width as he goes back. Another one that has some extension and some look from the side, but doesn't balance as good as maybe as the one in 2nd, doesn't have quite as much muscle as the ones in 3rd and 4th, and so ends up 5th is this red-tailed goat at the end of the line. One that's really good as far as that last rib. We don't go from our blade to our forerib to our loin quite as well. We get a little bit narrower, get off just a little bit in the hip, especially when we put him in motion, but a nice one as far as that touch, as far as his loin's concerned. One that has some width coming at me, just needs some width going away. Really a nice class in this 2nd class. These kids have done a good job once again with this project. Let's give them a round of applause for their efforts here.
Thank you, Steve. This will be your first call.
Vogel Tractors, high-quality tractors, construction machines, and utility vehicles, new and used equipment and attachments from Rhino, Armstrong Ag, Industrious America, and more. Vogel Tractors specializes in 20 to 150 horsepower tractors, as well as skid steers, excavators, and more. All machines field-tested, shop-inspected, and serviced to exceed expectations. Online at FbgLive.com or give us a call, 830-644-1400.
Well, a really nice first division. Let's give these kids and all the youth that showed in this first division a round of applause for a really nice job out here. Really pleased with my first and seconds. We had some quality classes. I think when you look at feet and legs and you look at the way they handle the two that come to the top, put those things together better than the two in the second. I think really a nice set. I think when you go to pick your champion, or I believe when you go to pick your champion, that it gets real close. I think we've got a lightweight that's really neat about its front, really ties together nicely and handles nice, and we've got a really big top, really big ended one that still holds the skeleton together well enough on the move. I think it becomes close, but to me, the one that puts the most things together and checks the most boxes, your lightweight will be your champion, your heavyweight will be your reserve in this division. Good job.
Ready for Class 3 on the meat goats. We'll call out the placings for Class 2. The 10th place was Mason Taylor. 9th was Grayson Fanning. 8th, Macy Long. 7th was Weston Pressler. 6th, Alexis Wine. 5th was Wyatt Craven. 4th, Taylor Cox. 3rd, Piper Craven. 2nd was Addison Hahn, and our class winner was Trey Toch.
So, folks, while we're waiting for meat goats class 3, I also want to let you know that over on FBG Live Channel 2, we have the poultry show over there, as you can see now on your screen. If you wanted to watch the poultry and chickens and the kids there, feel free to visit our webpage, Fbg.Live, and select channel 2 there, or just you can YouTube search for FBG Live 2.
as he comes in, he demands your attention, and he walks around the ring and then parks, and you just your eyes gravitate to him. And then when you handle him, he comes to the top nicely. Really a wedge-shaped one that's tremendous as far as being shallow in its chest, but still round and big in its rib cage. Really nice as far as the way it transitions from front to rear. You put this one in motion, he covers his track nicely. Really from all angles puts together nice, and then you put your hands on him and he really is nice as far as width and depth and true muscle shape down that top and into that leg. Really nice one for this class. I guess if you're going to get real picky, he has just a tad of jump muscle, maybe a tad off in his hip, but I think we're getting real critical on one that is put together really, really good. The one in second, I guess most follows him as far as shape and dimension to his body, as far as having some base width and some dimension coming at me and going away from me. He doesn't want to work with this young man quite as well as he'd like him to, wants to pull away from him just a little bit. He doesn't blend quite as well from his loin into his hip. He gets just a little forward in his shoulder, and his neck doesn't tie quite as well into his blade as you'd like to see. But when you really start handling him, I think he has to go second with that extra dimension to his loin, that extra dimension to his leg and hip, and that extra width he's got from the ground up. The one in third's a little more attractive than the one in second, a little cooler fronted. He's not quite as firm and hard to the touch. I'd like to see him a little bit better as far as his touch and tone. I'd like him to get wider in his pin setting and out through his hip and carry more leg muscle for one that size, but one that's attractive in that shoulder, attractive in that front, and the way he ties together, really elevated that shoulder. A really long-bodied, really attractive one from the side as far as length of body and extension is next, one that gets just a little higher in its rear flank. One, again, we'd like to pull apart underneath, give a little more dimension to that body. Therefore, we'd get more dimension up top, hopefully, and we need to have more of both those places in comparison to the top three. But one that handles good as far as touch and tone. Young lady's done a nice job of feeding it. His hide's good, his touch is good as far as his finish, really fresh but uniform. We get to the next one, and one that balances out maybe a little bit better than our one in fourth, one that lacks a little lower leg muscle. I'd like to see this one travel just a little bit better around the ring, wants to get a little lower fronted, not hold himself together quite as well. Then we get into some goats that don't touch quite as nice, some that don't have quite the muscle, some are not quite as far along in the feeding period as far as putting muscle over that loin and into that hip as well. It's the ones that are above them today, but really, really a nice class in this first class of Division II. Let's give these kids a round of applause for a good job here.
most of them are probably going to be showing to Tom here in a minute and say, I'm going to sling this thing up. And they worked hard. They did a really, really fine job. And so that's a really encouraging thing from my perspective. You know, I sound like a broken record as we go throughout the morning here, lining these classes up. But guys, we're just looking for breast meat yield. I don't know how many of y'all have heard about the AI situation, okay? Avian influenza and the turkey shortage, all that. People probably heard it on the news. But avian influenza is flaring up big time this year. And the reason I bring that up is because we're short on turkeys. And since we're short on turkeys, the price of turkey breast meat is outrageous. I don't know if you've checked your lunch, the lunch counter, the Subway menu. But turkey breast meat's going for right at $6.50 a pound, okay? So that's on market. That's not what you're paying. You're paying more than that. But on the commodity market, what the processors are selling is $6.50 a pound. So what do you think we're worried about on these birds? Okay, that's it. Turkey-based breast meat. And so we're looking for maximizing breast meat yield with late series.
Division, I think we've got 3 that come to the top real nicely. All high-quality goats, but have some differences in them. The top 2, especially to me, have a lot of similarities. When you go down to their top, really big in their rack, pronounced in that muscle in their rack, really nice as far as getting wider in their loin. They walk around and move around the ring really, really nicely. I think that the difference, or the biggest difference to me, comes back in that hip. I think the one in first is a little bit neater and a little more pronounced in that hip, especially when we put him in motion. He has just a little more width and flare to that loin edge and to that loin than the one we have in second. I think the one in second is probably a little more attractive in the way his shoulder ties into his neck and neck ties into his shoulder, and then his blade ties into his forerib as far as being more extended and a little cooler looking. But I'd like to change him back there in his hip just a tad in comparison to the one in first. 2 really good goats. The one in third's a really productive, heavy muscle type goat, one that gets just a little flatter in his upper and lower rib, doesn't have quite the expression of muscle in that rack as the first 2. Gets just a little bit of cover there, right there in that elbow pocket. I'd like to clean him up. I'm not going to say he's too fat. I'd just like to clean him up a little bit there in comparison to the top 2, maybe bring that chest floor up, but really powerful from that last rib back. A lot of dimension to the body. We stretched that one out a little bit, changed that rib shape and rack shape just ever so slightly. He moves up right into there. One that has a really good touch and tones, this one in fourth, really hard to the touch, really good as far as muscle hardness and muscle toneness. When we go to handling this one, he's a little rougher in his transitions down his top. He's not quite as smooth in his handle from his blade to his rack to his loin to his hip. We'd like to give him just a little more smoothness all the way down that top line. The one that's got a tremendous amount of muscle and a tremendous touch just doesn't balance quite as well and transition quite as well. We round out our top 5 with one that has a lot of width and a lot of body dimension. Another one that's carrying a little more in that elbow pocket, not quite as firm to the touch as for sure the one in front of him, but not as firm and have as much touch and tone as the 4 in front of him actually. One that has some width going away from me and coming to me. I'd like to extend his front end, make him a little bit cooler about that front end, clean him up just a little bit to move him up any further. The dark colored goat next has a really nice top, needs more lower leg, needs more flank and body. Same with the spotted goat. We get into a goat that just needs to change its transitions, doesn't flow together quite as well. And then we round out with a couple that we just need more muscle, more total width, more total dimension to their body to be able to move them up. But really a nice class 2 in the second division. Let's give all these kids a round of applause for a good job here. Well, an excellent set out here for our champion in Division II. Let's give these youth and everybody that showed in this division a round of applause for a real competitive division. I think 4 real nice goats out here, really good classes. When it comes down to it, I think that it comes real close, especially for reserve. But I think, or if I had to pick 3, it'd be pretty easy to go pick 3, and then the 4th one kind of falls into 4th, excuse me. It's not about reserve in this case, but really nice goats. I think there's one out here that when you talk about proportionate balance, muscle, structure, skeleton, putting everything together in a really good package as far as when it moves, when it stands, just the way it's put together skeletally, structurally, and then the way that muscle's tied on and the way it balances out. I think that one wins nicely, and then I think comes real easy to follow with the next one. I think one that's got a tremendous touch, tremendous tone, really long-bodied, really extended. Your lightweight will be your champion, your heavyweight will be your reserve. Is that the right one?
28, Willow Elrod. 29, Mo Elrod. And 30th, Rose Ferguson.
Well, in the first class of our third division, we've got a couple, 2, 3 goats that come to the top. I think one that logically goes fourth, and then we kind of decline down a little bit as far as muscle and total shape in our goats, but have a nice one in fifth as far as extension and look from the side. The one that wins it pretty nicely to me when you really get to analyzing this one on the move, and then when you stop him, one that just comes together really neat as far as his structure, one that's really wide coming at you, got a big old forearm, really blends well from front to rear, one that's a little bit neater about his top and bottom line than the one in second, one that's a little bit cleaner and neater fronted and cooler made than the one in third, and then one that you just really appreciate that extra touch and tone, that extra width, and yet that balance and eye appeal it has along with top line levelness just wins the class nicely. This one in second's got a lot of dimension to the body, a lot of width, probably a little bigger loin as far as width of loin. Where I'm concerned about him, he gets a little flatter and longer in his lower rib. He's not quite as neat as far as the way his neck, shoulder, and front end tie together. Maybe just a tad waisty, if you will, and compared to the one in first. But once you get past that, one that's really big loin, really big hipped, really level hipped, big dimension. We've got some big old feet on this one that moves around. He moves around nicely as far as covering his track. He just doesn't balance quite as well as one in the first and hold his skeleton together quite as well. The one in third probably holds his skeleton together a little bit better on the move than the one in second, maybe just a little neater about its shoulder and the way it blends in, especially the blade, top part of that blade into that rib and rack. But one that gets a little plainer about its front and forerib, one that doesn't have quite the muscle and total volume and dimension of loin and leg is the one in third, one that doesn't have the look, balance, and extra shape of the one in first, and so goes third in this class, but a nice one as far as top shape's concerned. Another good handling one as far as touch and tone is the one next. Appreciate the freshness, but yet the hardness of this one that when we compare him to the first three, not as wide out through his loin, one that gets a little down in his front and hard to look at from the side at times, but when you get this one on the move, I think warrants going in fourth with the extra amount of freshness and tone in the way he handles in comparison to the others. We round out with one that's really long and really level, one that's nice as far as top shape's concerned. We appreciate the way this one sets its rear legs as far as width's concerned. Gets just a little straighter in his rear hock, doesn't have as much flex off his rear end, doesn't show me quite the amount of muscle in that middle and lower portion of his leg as the four in front of him today, and so consequently goes fifth. We get into the next set and we start getting goats that just don't have the width and horsepower, especially from the last rib back, need more dimension to their body, need more total muscle. But really a nice class. These kids have done an awesome job. Let's give them a round of applause for their efforts here.
wall in several places. When we get to our chickens, we're going to have 4 callbacks. Callback 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? All we're going to be calling out here is just the callback group number 1 first, so we don't have all the chickens out here. So if y'all could, the exhibitors, get familiar with what group you're going to be in after a while. So when I call you, whenever we finish the Turkey Tom show, y'all are going to be aware of what you're going to be. Also, put your exhibitor number on front. And we're going to be starting with the pullets whenever we get to the chicken show.
Well, a real competitive class in this second class of our third division. We're going to start off with one that's just really neat as far as balance factor, as far as base width, as far as transitions from front to rear and smoothness. And then you get him out on the side and you look and compare him to the ones in second and third. And I think he transitions from his loin to his hip. He's a little bit leveler in his hip than the one in second. He's a little bit wider coming at me and going away from me, the one in second, and carries his underline just a little bit neater as far as front to rear flank relationship, especially when we put him in motion. I think when you compare him to the one in third, he's a little longer bodied, he's a little trimmer made, a little bit cooler fronted. And so I think those were your decisions in these. One that just wins on just being real good everywhere, maybe doesn't have a wow factor that you just say, wow, that one is extra good in one place. But when you talk about just putting pieces together in a really good package, that one does it. The one in second, really good as far as that expression of muscle. You can see that roll and rip down his top. One that gets just a little in on his hind two. He's not as wide coming at me. Not as neat as far as that balance factor, especially when we put him in motion. When you look at his rear to front flank, when you look at his hip and the way his hip hock and leg hit the ground, not quite as unique and not quite as neat as the one in first. One that I think kind of falls into third, but I think just not quite ready today is this one, black-headed one next. One that I really like some pieces about this guy. He's the softest handling of them. He's just a little bit small in this class. I think probably this one 30, 60 days down the road, he's got some width, he's got some bone, he's got some foot, he's got some dimension to his body. He just shortens up, and compared to the first two, he's a little bit softer as far as in consideration of the way he handles over his rib and his body. Compared to the first two, he's not quite as neat and as extended in his front at times as them. But when I think you get 30, 60 days on the track, really kind of tune this one up, get him in a class maybe with some more his maturity and size, I think can really, really compete. Next one's a nice one as far as touch and tone's concerned. This one concerns me on his hind two. I'd like him to be a little bit neater at every angle. When I watch his rear legs, he doesn't have quite the width and flare and leg muscle of the couple right in front of him. He doesn't have quite the balance and look as the one in first. Consequently goes in fourth. The next one's just green, one that really needs to be fed hard and pushed a little harder maybe. He doesn't have quite the width down his top. He's not quite as good and doesn't have the integrity from his loin into his hip. One that's good as far as extension and look from the side. I just need to blow him up. I think another one, 30, 60 days hard feed and getting him a little bigger and a little bit smoother will help him a bunch. We've got one next that's handles nice as far as touch and tone and freshness, just needs more horsepower. We've got one next that doesn't balance out quite as well, but young lady's done a nice job of feeding him. He's not too fat, not too thin. Hide quality's good, just need more of him. And then we get into some, again, that structure and skeleton's just not quite as good as the ones up at top, but really, really a nice set. Again, these kids have worked hard. Let's give them a round of applause for their efforts in this class. Well, again, a very competitive division. Let's give these youth a round of applause, and the ones that showed earlier in this division, round of applause for a very competitive division. Again, it comes down to what I'm looking for as far as balance and muscle and putting that together in a package, and that proportional balance and structure along with that muscle in the way it's put on that frame. I think we've got a really good set. I think these top two in each of these classes kind of set themselves apart with just a lot of good qualities. I think when you get them out here and compare them to each other, there's one that's probably a little more ready today as far as having a little more expression, a little more freshness, a little more to it. The other one I think follows really good as far as structure and balance and putting those things together. Your lightweight will be your champion, your heavyweight will be your reserve.
Excellent job. Good job.
Dittmer Lumber is a family-owned hardware and feed store located on Highway 87 just south of Fredericksburg. We stock a variety of materials to meet the needs of contractors and homeowners in our community. And for the sake of your time, we even keep our most popular items just inside the front door. Stop by or give us a call today, 830-997-0322. At Dittmer Lumber, if we don't have it, we can get it. Just let us know when you need it.
We're going to have a long morning. Thank you.
Well, really a nice class winner in this division, for this division. Really appreciate the way this one wedges from the back. Really appreciate this one on the move, big-footed, balanced, moves around really nice as far as covering its track and strolling around the arena, and then you get your hands on him, and just really, really nice as far as rib shape, dimension to that loin and hip. One that's fitted to the hilt, but it wouldn't take that for this one to win, because this one's just really, really nice today. I think when we look at second, third, and fourth, I think they've all have some similarities as far as top shape and muscle down their top and body dimension. I think this one ties its skeleton together a little bit better than the two directly behind. One that's smoother from that shoulder into that forerib, one that's smoother down that top and blends better from front to rear, has a little bit better balance factor as far as levelness of hip, front to rear flank, especially when we put it in move. On the move, one that just ties together and skeletally is a little nicer than the next two. I think it gets close between third and fourth. The one in third's really big loin, tremendous touch and tone, and when you get over top of this one, you think he's going to be in that top two. When you get him from the side, he gets off a little bit, and his hip shortens up and his body just a tad compared to the ones in front of him. Doesn't hold his skeleton together quite as well from front to rear. But really, really nice as far as touch and tone, as far as carcass attributes. This one's a little bit leaner, a little bit cleaner than the one that's next. The one that's next, another one, big top, huge butt in this one. You get back to the back legs and you get around to the front and you compare him to the first two. He doesn't have the width. You compare him to the one in third. He's not as good as far as touch and tone and the way he handles his rear two, but really, really big top, huge deep loin in this one, and that gets what gets him in fourth today. The one in fifth's real attractive. It just really comes down to when you had these five out here and you look at him from the side, just gets a little flatter in that lower leg, doesn't have quite the dimension to the top. Yeah, he's a little cooler about the way he blends together, a little cooler about his front end. One that I think's not as far along in his maturity pattern. I think one that 30, 60 days down the road, you put this one on an exercise program, kind of blow him up a little bit in that rear end with that muscle, and can be real competitive. Then we get into goats again. They get a little narrower, don't have quite the skeleton or don't have quite the muscle that we have up here, but a nice set. Again, these youth have done an excellent job. Let's give them a round of applause for their efforts here.
Okay, well, they're judging turkey, so we're going to start entering our opponents. Callback number one. Yes, ball number one. Y'all come in. We're going to be checking your pen number. I'm going to announce them out just to make sure, in case the field didn't find the numbers. Group number one, this is the one out in the arena. Coop number 3, 26, 31, 36, 45, 47, 53, 69, 70, 77, 87, 93, 101, 103, 108.
You have now reached your jewelry destination. Segner's Jewelers has all you desire for Valentine's Day. Beautiful diamonds, dashes of precious colored stones, pendants, earrings, bracelets, and the perfect engagement ring. Let them custom design a special piece or repair your favorite one in the HEB Center on 71 in Bee Cave and 236 West Main in Fredericksburg, or at SegnersJewelers.com. Welcome to Segner's, your jewelry destination. Enjoy your stay.
Congratulate each and every one of the exhibitors that participated today. Great job. We get into looking at our top two hens and top two toms for Grand Champion of the show. You have to evaluate these a little bit different. I've been talking about how I want the most amount of breast meat, and it's true. That's kind of holds true still right now, but you have to understand that the tom is always going to be bigger, right? It's going to be larger frame, it's going to be longer keel, deeper body. That tom is going to have more breast meat. So what we're trying to do is identify, do we have, does the hen represent, trying to maximize the potential for the perfect hen, or does the tom do a better job? So we're evaluating our first place tom and our first place hen within its sex as far as how close is perfect is that bird. And the one that's closest to perfect is going to be the best, or be our grand champion today. So we start looking at these two birds, they're both really good. They got nice shape. They got good width. You know, it really comes down to, I just think that there's one bird to me that just kind of outshines everything else here, and that's going to be the hen, and that's going to be our grand champion. And the first place Tom is going to be reserved. So we're going to go first place hen, first place Tom for grand reserve. Great job, guys. These are just really, really nice birds. All four of them are great, great birds. Hopefully y'all keep going and let's see how y'all do at the majors. Congratulations.
Okay, the grand is reserved. We're going to need y'all over here in the testing area. Please, over there.
Well, a challenging class. I think these top two come up to the top pretty nicely. When you talk about handle, you talk about length of body. I think the one that balances out better is the one up in first. I think he's a little bit neater as far as his look from the side, especially when you put him in motion. I think he's a little more expressive right there, in his rack going into his loin than the one in second. The one in second's probably bigger out through the hip and into that lower leg, but he gets a little forward in his shoulder, gets a little higher in his flank, just a tad tight when we put him in motion in comparison to the one in first, but two really nice goats to start this class off with. The one in third, really long, really extended. Again, like the transition from neck to shoulder, one that just doesn't have the width through the loin that the two in front of it have. One that goes away from me wide, probably could come at me a little wider as far as that dimension to that front. Two that have some width and some body shape are the next two. They're just pushing a little more finish there as far as the firmness down their top, and right behind that elbow pocket they get a little soft. I think the young man's Red Hawk goat in fourth is just a little more massive down that top, has a little more body shape, ties together a little better from his shoulder into his rib. One in fifth, again, big bodied. We just need to smooth that one up just a little bit. I think where he beats sixth on down is he's just a little wider through his pin setting, a little bigger bodied, a little bigger top than they are. We get some goats next that we just need to pull apart and give more muscle. Again, these kids have done an awesome job in this second class of the fourth division. Let's give them a round of applause for their efforts here.
Just a reminder, if you're watching the goat show this morning on FBG Live, there's also the poultry and chicken show going on.
We're now judging for our Division 4 champion in the meat goats. Our Division 4 champion award was donated by Ralph and Karen Rohde. And our reserve champion division award was donated by Fritz & Sons Construction.
Well, congratulations to these kids in the fourth division, and also to all of them that showed earlier. A really nice set in this division as well. I think there's one out here that we talk about proportional balance and putting together structure and skeleton in a package that we're pushing that meat envelope as far as the amount of muscle we can put on the frame, but yet keep them sound and structural quality and having them really nice as far as handle and touch. And then I think for reserve it gets close, but I think there's one that's a little cleaner, a little neater made. Your lightweight will be your champion, your heavyweight will be your reserve in this division.
32, 37, 51, 56, 59, 64, 76, 80, 86, 100, 118, and 120. Bring him out to the arena. We need Crockett Eckert to come to the arena. We have a question for him. If he could come to the arena whenever he gets a chance. Also, since we have completed our turkey show, the turkeys can be taken home or whatever. Also, in the turkey prize money envelopes, some private individuals donated some extra money for the turkeys, and that family was Betcher Electric, which is Leonard and Sarah Betcher. They donated some extra money for the prize money, so let's give them a round of applause, please. So Tucker Geiswide, if he can come to the arena here too, we have a question. Owen Knazy as well. Blair Stalin also come to the arena. We have a question for you. And also Riley Schmidt, come to the arena. So, Denny Horton, come to the arena.
Really nice class in this first class of the last division of the day. We're going to start off two high-quality goats, I think, that come to the top when you talk about structure and skeleton and those type of things. And then when you put the muscle on, I think the one that comes and wins, or the one that does come and win this class, is a little more expressive there in the rack, a little bolder in that rib, handles his hind two just a little nicer, gives me a little more flair into that hip than the one in second to the hip in the middle part of its leg. The one in second really good as far as feet and legs coming away from me and going towards me, and as far as their width and the width between his hocks and the width between his knees is really, really neat, really nice as far as his front end's concerned. One that gets wider as he comes back up until you get to that hip, and then he narrows a little bit in that pin setting, gets a little flatter in that middle and lower part of his leg. But I think the extra length of body, that extra width, that extra skeletal advantage he has as far as putting that skeleton together from front to rear is what puts him in second over third. Third's got a tremendous amount of muscle, really big-legged, bigger-legged than the ones probably in first and second when you look at total amount of dimension to that leg. But one that just gets a little bit off behind his blade in that top line, doesn't transition from his loin quite as well, gets a little forward in his shoulder and a little longer in his shoulder than the two in front of him. We'd like to change that, and that one can move up. We get into third and fourth, I think goats that have a nice handle as far as freshness is concerned. I think the one with the black hock and black front foot handles just a little bit neater as far as width in that loin edge, gives me a little more dimension out through that hip. I think the red and white goat at times is more attractive from the last rib back, especially when we put it in motion, but one that just doesn't blend quite as well together down that top line at times and gets a little bit shorter and down in its front end compared to the black-headed one. We get into the next one, not quite as wide, nice profile look, just need more width down the top. We get one here that gets a little heavier fronted, a little down headed. We need to make that one a little more attractive about its front. And then we get into some goats that just need more width and dimension. But really a nice class. Again, these kids have done a really, really good job. Let's give them a round of applause for their efforts here.
Vogel Tractors, high-quality tractors, construction machines, and utility vehicles. New and used equipment and attachments from Rhino, Armstrong Ag, Industrious America, and more. Vogel Tractors specializes in 20 to 150 horsepower tractors, as well as skid steers, excavators, and more. All machines field-tested, shop-inspected, and serviced to exceed expectations. Online at FbgLive.com or give us a call, 830-644-1400.
Second was Rhodey Hump.
show chickens. I mean, I showed the other day. I said, "You want to show chasing no horses?" I said, "We're not showing horses. We ride horses, but we ain't showing horses. So you're gonna show the chickens, though." And so, but it's really encouraging to see the number of young people out here. I really appreciate it. Let's give them all a big round of applause for their efforts. They've got great pins and birds. You're just in a really tough county, so don't move. We're gonna record. We'll be excusing y'all in a little bit. And what we've done, guys, is it may look like chaos from the stands, but just to try to speed the show up, we brought the next call back in after these guys so that we can continue on with the judges. So, great job. Thank y'all again for having me.
I'll tell you from the beginning, a lot of times in heavyweight classes you run into this. You've got a lot of differences in age, maturity, finish, what's ready, what may be a little overdone, what's some of them may get stale even on you if they've been jackpotted or been on the trail, so to speak, for a while. But one thing as a judge I try not to do is one trade them, and I can tell you this one up at top's got one thing that I'd like to change and one thing that bothers me, and that's its rear pasterns. I'd like it to be a little shorter and better on those rear pasterns. But without one trading it, and when you take that away, this one wins the class. One that's fresh, one that's hard to the touch, one that gets wider as it goes back, one that has some width between its legs but still is neat as far as the way it ties together from its shoulder to its rib, one that handles progressively wider, gets wide in that pin setting, and I think is deserving of that first place on those qualities. The one in second's really fresh handling, really nice as far as loin shape is concerned, one that's not quite as neat as far as that lower 1/3 of its body, especially up in that front end, one that doesn't have quite as much dimension and width out through his hip as the one in first. He is better on his hind two as far as his pasterns are concerned. He's a little bigger boned, a little bit heavier made type individual. I just need to change his neck and shoulder in that front end, clean that up a little bit, and give him a little more rear leg in comparison to the one in first when we look at him size-wise and comparison-wise and leanness-wise. We look at our third place and one that's ripped down the top, got a tremendous hard touch to it. When we really start analyzing this one gets a little flatter in its loin, a little flatter out through its hip and its lower leg. We like the front 1/3 of this one, probably as good as anything in the class. We just need to change him from that last rib back to make him a little more unique and be able to compete with the first two. The red, chocolate, brown, whatever you want to call the next one, as far as color-wise, I'm colorblind, so it doesn't matter to me. You can call him what you want, but really a neat goat as far as his front end and as far as moving around the ring and his structure. He gets a little off on his hind two. He's a little softer handling and not quite as descript in his muscle as the three in front of him, and goes forth because of that. And we round out our top five with one that's long-bodied, gets just a little lower fronted, maybe not a little finer featured, not quite the athleticism as some of the goats in front of him, and that's why he goes in fifth. The one in sixth, I'd like to change his top line and his rear two to make him go up any higher, one that has some width and dimension out through his hip, one that has some width and dimension up into his rib cage, but he narrows up on the underneath side of his skeleton down to the ground. He doesn't have quite the look from the side when you look at his top line and the way he breaks in his loin. And then we get into some goats, much like the other classes. We need to structurally change their balance and the muscle and the way it's put on that frame. But really a nice set. Let's give these kids a round of applause for a good job.
Dittmer Lumber is a family-owned hardware and feed store located on Highway 87 just south of Fredericksburg. We stock a variety of materials to meet the needs of contractors and homeowners in our community. And for the sake of your time, we even keep our most popular items just inside the front door. Stop by or give us a call today, 830-997-0322. At Dittmer Lumber, if we don't have it, we can get it. Just let us know when you need it.
Champion in reserve.
Extremely competitive heavyweight division in the goat side. Let's give these kids a round of applause for their efforts here, and all of them that showed a heavyweight division winner or class participant. Really appreciate the quality here. I think there's two that when you talk about structure, balance, putting that muscle on, much like I've talked all day, that fit my hand and eye a little bit better. Your lightweights will be your champion in reserve. Congratulations to those two.
You have now reached your jewelry destination. Segner's Jewelers has all you desire for Valentine's Day. Beautiful diamonds, dashes of precious colored stones, pendants, earrings, bracelets, and the perfect engagement ring. Let them custom design a special piece or repair your favorite one in the H-E-B Center on 71 in Bee Cave and 236 West Main in Fredericksburg, or at SegnersJewelers.com. Welcome to Segner's, your jewelry destination. Enjoy your stay.
Vogel Tractors, high-quality tractors, construction machines, and utility vehicles, new and used equipment and attachments from Rhino, Armstrong Ag, Industrious America, and more. Vogel Tractors specializes in 20 to 150 horsepower tractors, as well as skid steers, excavators, and more. All machines field-tested, shop-inspected, and serviced to exceed expectations. Online at VogelTractors.com or give us a call, 830-644-1400.
Attention in the turkey barn and poultry division, anybody that won turkey showmanship needs to go for their picture right now over here to where the burgundy curtain is. So anybody that won turkey showmanship, please go for your picture now. Thank you.
Just a quick little reminder while we're waiting for the Grand Champion Drive of the meat goats. We also on FBG Live 2, looks like we're still working the poultry over there. Let me show you what that looks like. Yeah, lots of kids involved in that. So if you're looking for something else to watch, once the goats are done here and this Grand Champion Drive, we'll come back with the lambs shortly thereafter. But for now, you can also tune over to FbgLive/2 and watch the poultry. Thanks for tuning in with us. We're back to the Grand Champion Drive here.
Also, the turkey exhibitors that got showmanship, first, second, third, in the 3 age groups, they are ready for your pictures over at the table over there, the backdrop. So please make your way over there if you want your picture taken.
Well, an excellent set of livestock or goats out here for our champion drive. Really, really impressed with the quality. Let's give all these kids and everyone that showed a goat today a round of applause for an excellent, excellent show. I hope you took my comments as constructive criticism as we went through the classes. I hope that with my comments and you being able to see them with your advisors and whoever it may be that helps you, that you're able to make decisions on where you're going to go on and go into another show. Hopefully that those things I like to always use my county fair as kind of a springboard to go to the others and know where we were going to go and get with my families and decide where we were going to go based on what we looked like and what we needed to do. Took my comments like constructive criticism, and that's what I meant them as, and I appreciate the opportunity to not only evaluate livestock but work with your youth in Gillespie County. It's a pleasure to get to come to the county stock show where and say the pledge allegiance to the flag that I think are important. Please get back on a path that's somewhat agricultural bound and for these youth. These are going to be our future leaders, and I'm proud that I get to work with them and get the chance to evaluate. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but there's nothing better we could be doing with our kids than this right here, and I don't our turkey and chicken, cattle barn, where it may be, 4-H and FFA, and this is the heart where we're at, and we're today. I can attest to that by going around the United States and getting the opportunity to judge, and you'll never have disappointment when these kids don't do as well. You can see disappointment in their face, but most of them are not in the eye and shake your hand, say yes sir, or how are you today sir, or something like that, and that find in any other venue in the United States that we have for youth. So I applaud these kids, I applaud your advisors and the people that put on this show. Let's give people to help put this show on, your board and all them, and then your advisors and them around. Excellent job. Livestock, I'm pretty direct in what I do. I don't take as much time. I'm pretty direct. I think you can think too long and get it wrong, and so I do it pretty. I've got life all day, but proportional balance, muscle on the right size frame, right class, and putting those together on a skeleton and on some structure when it moves, it's the eye. And then of course they're a meat animal. You've got to touch them and they've got to have some muscle. They also have to have some finish. The goat barn, maybe in the sheep barn we got them a little fat for a while, but in the goat barn we've kept them relatively both of our first and seconds, and really pleased with them out here. In saying that, there's two individuals that when we move them, when we handle them, look at both that hand and eye combination, for lack of a better way to say it, they come to the top. Go shake the hand of your individual with your champion in reserve. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Good luck to all these kids and all the kids that showed today. Things in perspective, keep things rolling the right way, and you'll be successful in what you do. Set those goals, and I'm going to go shake the serve again. Thank you. Let's give them one more round of applause.
This Finner bird is a lot better than what the pre-score said it was.